driving someplace this weekend. And if you are, you're probably getting a good start because the George Washington Bridge probably isn't expecting or experiencing a 40-minute backup as it was earlier today. The Garden State is probably flowing a bit more smoothly. Airports, busy this morning, not so busy in the afternoon, packed again this evening. Remember one Thanksgiving. The only time I decided that we should travel on Thanksgiving because there was a pastor who could do Thanksgiving and the Sunday after, we were in South Dakota. So we had this brilliant idea. We had only one kid then, Brittany. How hard would it be to fly from Yankton, South Dakota to Sioux Falls, South Dakota, catch a plane to Chicago, and then from Chicago to Detroit? Piece of cake. Until you get to Chicago, late. Your plane is sitting there, but the boarding door is closed. Your plane is sitting there, but they won't let you board. Did I mention the plane is sitting there? And they said you'll have to catch the next flight. Our plane is right there. Open the friggin' door, and we wouldn't have to catch the next flight. No, the gate's closed. Open the gate. No, it's closed. I hate traveling on Thanksgiving. I'm glad I work this weekend. We finally got to Detroit sometime about 3 in the morning, Thanksgiving morning. Everyone was up, ready to go, having celebrations. Us, those of us from South Dakota, Cynthia, me, Brittany didn't count, she was young. We're like, you know what, start without us. We just got here. I now have to think about leaving again. It's nice to not have to be someplace other than here. I didn't even have to drive here. I didn't have to do anything in a car to get here. Nice. But our life is all about being someplace. It's about getting someplace. Maybe tomorrow you don't have to be someplace, or maybe you have to be with the right food that tastes the right way, and you're going to be at the in-laws, and you have to smile even though you don't want to smile. And you have to eat that cranberry thing that nobody eats, but it's made because it's been made for the last 300 years, and it tastes like it's 300 years old. But it's Thanksgiving. And what else do you do but have food that looks really, really yellow? Do you ever look at a Thanksgiving plate? A traditional plate doesn't have much color. There's some brown, there's some yellow, there's some more brown and yellow, and then there's some white with some brown on top. And then we have like brown colored pie that we maybe put whipped cream on. We're not very creative. And yet 46.9 million of us travel to get brown food. I guess it's better than getting up every morning and having manna out there that looked like cornflakes and tasted like honey. It was great day 1. Probably not bad day 3. Probably tolerable year 4. Probably less tolerable year 25. Probably detestable year 40. Same breakfast, 40 years in a row. Maybe some of you do cornflakes every morning and you go, I could do that. Me, no. I'd be like, God, could you mix it up a bit and maybe add some chocolate every once in a while? Could you do something other than the same old thing every morning for 40 years? Oh, wait. Does that mean, God, I want you to stop providing in a way you know is the right way? And let me tell you how to do your job because I can do it better? That's exactly what happened earlier in Deuteronomy, in Exodus, in Leviticus, in Numbers. Maybe we get bored with brown food once a year, but they got bored with their manna and their quail after a few years, and they began to complain, and yet God said, you're not doing anything. You're walking out, you're collecting the food. I am providing for you. I am taking care of you. Why is it that you've lost your gratitude? What are you so busy trying to do in the wilderness that you can't be grateful that when there's no food around, I bring food to you? I do it personally. God delivered. Talk about breakfast in bed. God brought it every day. Yeah, except the Sabbath. God showed up every day and provided. And yet it wasn't enough after a while. I don't know how many shoes some of you have in your closet. I have to admit, I probably have more shoes in my closet than Michelle has in her closet. Although I try to get her to buy shoes so I feel less guilty about the fact that I have more shoes than she does. At least if we're equal, she can't laugh at me. 40 years, it says in Deuteronomy 8, and their shoes didn't wear out. There you go, ladies, or men with a shoe fetish. You know, I know back there, Matthew, definitely, you would have a problem because for 40 years you'd have the same pair of shoes. Sorry, whatever happened, you don't get the latest Nike or the latest Adidas or the latest Puma. You get the same shoes that were in fashion 35 years ago. There you go. And they won't wear out. You'd go out and rub them on the rocks, just have to get new ones. Didn't wear out. Man, God showed up again and provided. But it's the same pair and it's 40 years old. It was so out of style 35 years ago, but it's still in good condition. Oh, man, God's not about style. He's about providing what we need. Not the latest fashion or the coolest color, but providing what we need. Maybe the food wasn't exciting and maybe the clothes were 40 years old, but they looked good. And what was great, those of you that are probably over the age of like 15 are grateful to go, their feet never swelled? How many of us go home, put our recliner up, and go, oh, my feet are huge tonight? Okay, after several hours of flying, you kind of go, wow, that looks like an elephant. My boots don't fit like they used to until the swelling goes down. 40 years, no swollen feet. And yet they complained. They weren't happy. So before they walked into the promised land, they were kind of called on the carpet. And the leader said, you've been provided for and it wasn't enough. Your clothing hasn't worn out and now you're tired of it. You haven't had true health issues, at least not ones that you didn't bring on yourselves. Your feet never got swollen and you still complained. Are you ready to experience the good life? And I don't mean Nebraska. For those of you that have just been to Nebraska. The good life is the state motto. I don't know where they got that from. Clearly not people in Nebraska. No, just kidding. Are you ready, people, to be in a good place? Are you ready to say wherever God brings us, that's the good place? Are you ready to say, I may not have the latest fashions. We may be looking forward tomorrow to eating a whole lot of brown food. Our shoes may be out of date. Maybe I don't have the best health. But God has brought you to a good place. Jesus uses that idea of you don't live on bread alone, but you live on every word that comes out of the mouth of God. What words are those for us on this Thanksgiving Eve? First and foremost, forgiveness. No matter what comes your way, no matter what disaster may befall you the rest of this year or next year, no matter what happens, you are forgiven people of God. God looks at you and sees perfection. Maybe you don't, and that's probably good. But when God looks through what Jesus has done and sees you, he sees perfection. Not your blemishes, not your bad moods, not your negativity, but because of Jesus, there's a whole new way God looks down. He looks and says, perfect, beautiful, fulfilled, precious, because of forgiveness. It's not about food and bread alone. It's about the words that come out of the mouth of God, and he says, perfect, to each of you. I give you a hope. I give you a future. Those are words that come out of the mouth of God. Maybe tonight you don't have a lot of hope, or you don't know what your future holds. Maybe tonight you think, okay, I'm going to muster the strength to smile tomorrow because George Washington said we have to at least have one day of Thanksgiving, and I'm going to do it because the president way back then said we have to. Even if you have no reason for hope in the future, God says to each of you, there is a reason for a hope in the future because he has not forgotten you. You are not forgotten, nor are you forsaken. God hasn't tossed you aside to say, I kind of forgot where I put them. God knows exactly where you are, and he has a hope and a future for each of you. If you're dealing with medical issues and your future may just be a week long, it is a future with hope because then there's heaven. If you've got the next 50 years to deal with the ups and downs of life, there is hope because you don't deal with that alone. And your future is in God's hands. Doesn't matter the time, doesn't matter the location, doesn't matter. There is a hope and a future for each of you in God. And for that, how do we not give thanks? Joshua says to the same group of people very soon, be strong and courageous. Those are words that come out of the mouth of God. Be strong and courageous. You don't know what your future holds? Don't stress, because God does, and he's got your back. So be strong, and that the Lord has your back. Let him be your spine. Be courageous, because he goes before you, beside you, behind you. He surrounds you. Be strong and courageous. And so tomorrow, as you've gathered wherever you're going to gather, as you're eating whatever brown food you choose to eat, as you're either rolling your eyes at your family or maybe actually enjoying them, whatever that might be, just stop for a moment and just look around, just for a second or two, and realize God's brought you to a good place. Even a place with brown food and cranky family, it's a good place because God is there. Just take a moment tomorrow and say, I'm in a good place because God's here with me. That last part of the Old Testament reading says, and when you have eaten and are satisfied, praise the Lord your God for the good place he has brought you. Let that be your job tomorrow. Rejoice with God in the good place he has brought you. Amen.